It started with silence. A billion-dollar jet sat motionless in its hangar, its polished wings catching the cold light of dawn. Engineers moved around it in quiet frustration, each one certain that the problem couldn't be solved. For weeks, the billionaire's prized aircraft had remained grounded, a symbol of failure no one wanted to admit. And then, out of nowhere, a quiet voice broke through the tension. It belonged to a girl in worn clothes, someone no one had really noticed before. She didn't belong among the experts or the millionaires. Yet when she spoke, she did so with a kind of calm certainty that made people stop. She said softly, "I think I can help." Her name was Maya. No one at the hangar knew much about her. To most, she was just another worker, a face they passed without remembering. She swept floors, wiped oil from walkways, and organized tools for the engineers. But to Maya, every piece of machinery she touched told a story. She had once been an engineering student, fascinated by the way engines breathed life into motion. But when her mother fell ill, she left university to care for her, and everything began to unravel. Jobs disappeared. Bills grew. When her mother passed, Maya found herself with nowhere to go. The only place that offered her shelter was a city mission near the airport. From there, she took the first job available, cleaning the private hangars of the ultra-wealthy. Every evening, while others left for home, Maya stayed behind, quietly studying the aircraft she cleaned. She watched how mechanics handled their tools, how they listened to the engines, and how even minor missteps could cause massive consequences. Then came the day the billionaire's new jet, the pride of his global fleet, suffered a mysterious failure. A faint vibration in the right engine had turned into a complete systems shutdown mid-flight. The emergency landing cost millions. The best engineers were flown in from across the world, but no one could find the fault. For the billionaire, it was humiliation. For Maya, it was a puzzle that whispered to her each time she swept beneath that grounded plane. Each morning, the hangar echoed with arguments. Engineers debated theories, trading blame and data points. The billionaire's advisors hovered anxiously, checking their watches. And through it all, Maya crept, collecting discarded gloves, stacking crates, invisible among the chaos. But she was listening. Every click of a wrench, every frustrated sigh, it told her something. And deep inside, she began to form an idea. Late one night, long after the others had gone, Maya lingered beside the massive jet. She couldn't stop thinking about the way the right turbine had whined before shutting down, the same frequency she'd heard when cleaning near the exhaust weeks earlier. It wasn't mechanical failure, it was imbalance, a whisper of air where none should be. She crouched down, flashlight trembling in her hand, and traced the intake with her eyes. There, a hairline crack in a stabilizing ring, tiny, invisible to most. But to her, it gleamed like truth. Maya didn't dare touch it. She wasn't authorized to, but she documented it mentally, comparing it to the schematics she'd memorized from the manuals left lying around. She went home that night, unable to sleep. The next morning, she approached the senior engineer. Her voice shook as she explained what she thought might be wrong. He barely looked up from his clipboard. "It's not that simple," he muttered. "You wouldn't understand," the words stung. But she'd heard worse. For the next 3 days, the experts kept running tests, chasing theories that went nowhere. The billionaire grew furious. He canceled meetings, ordered replacements, and demanded answers. On the 4th day, as frustration reached its peak, Maya found herself standing near the group again. The engineers were arguing about airflow calibration when she quietly said, "Excuse me, I think I found something." Silence fell. Dozens of eyes turned toward her. Someone laughed. "You? You're the cleaning staff." But the billionaire, perhaps out of desperation, asked her what she'd seen. Maya stepped forward and pointed to the exact section of the engine casing. She explained what she'd heard, how the pressure seemed off balance, and how a fracture in the stabilizer ring could cause the cascading failure they'd been chasing. Her tone wasn't boastful, it was careful, almost apologetic. The billionaire hesitated, then nodded for the engineers to check. Hours later, their instruments confirmed it. a microscopic structural crack, invisible during standard diagnostics but deadly in flight. For the first time in weeks, the hangar filled with genuine astonishment, and Maya just stood there, quiet, holding her cleaning rag, unsure whether to smile or step back into the shadows. The billionaire ordered a complete repair under Maya's supervision. At first, the engineers bristled. They had degrees, credentials, reputations to protect. But as Maya explained her reasoning and guided them through the alignment, their resistance began to fade. She worked with precision born not from training alone, but from love. Love of understanding how things worked. Love of solving what others ignored. By dawn, the repair was complete. The hangar doors opened, letting in the golden light of morning. The jet was to be tested once more. Everyone held their breath as the engines came alive. The deep hum turned into a steady roar. No vibrations, no warnings, just perfect balance. The billionaire watched in disbelief as the jet lifted smoothly off the runway. When it landed again, he turned to Maya. No one spoke. But in that silence was acknowledgement of her mind, her courage, her patience. For Maya, it wasn't triumph she felt. It was relief. Relief that finally someone had listened. The story could have ended there, with a repaired jet and a handshake. But something unexpected happened. The billionaire invited Maya to tell her story to his engineering board. She hesitated, unsure if anyone would want to hear it. But when she spoke, nervously, sincerely, people listened. She didn't talk about genius or luck. She spoke about how often talent goes unseen when judged by appearance, background, or circumstance. She spoke about how small chances can change lives. Moved, the billionaire funded a program in Maya's name. This mentorship provided technical training for underprivileged youth who dreamed of working in engineering. Maya became its first director. Years later, when people walked through the hangar, they still pointed to the spot where the billionaire's jet once stood grounded. They told the story not as a tale of failure, but as proof that brilliance often hides in places we forget to look. And sometimes, all it takes to fix what's broken is the courage to say, "Let me help." Prejudice doesn't always look like hate. Sometimes it hides behind silence, behind hesitation, behind the quiet assumption that someone else knows better. It shows up when a hand isn't offered, when a voice is overlooked, when potential is mistaken for background noise. So many dreams are buried not because they lack power, but because no one paused long enough to believe in them. Potential doesn't always shine from stages or titles. Sometimes it waits in corners, sweeping floors, studying in the shadows, learning from what the world throws away. Greatness rarely introduces itself with noise. It whispers through persistence, through the small hands that keep trying when no one's watching. Every hallway, every workshop, every street carries someone who sees the world differently. Someone who could change everything if only we listened. Because genius is not owned by the privileged. It's born in curiosity, in hunger, in the stubborn courage to keep believing. The world doesn't suffer from a lack of talent. It suffers from a lack of attention. Every person you pass might hold the answer to a problem no one else could solve. The janitor, the driver, the girl no one notices, all carrying stories that could rewrite what we think is possible. And so the question remains, will we look beyond appearances, beyond our own assumptions, long enough to see them? Will we listen, before it's too late to hear what they've been trying to say all along?